Sagittarius. There is someone standing just behind the story of your life, and the moment I settle into the quiet of this reading, I feel her before I understand her. Not a shadow, exactly, more like a held breath. A presence that has been careful, so careful, to stay just at the edge of what you were allowed to see. You have sensed her too, though you might have talked yourself out of it more times than you can count. Tonight, I want to sit with that feeling instead of brushing it away, because it has been trying to tell you something honest all along, and you were right to listen. Notice how your body already knows what I mean. There is a face, or a name, or simply the texture of a certain person that rose up in you the instant you saw the words at the top of this video. That is not me planting an idea in your mind. That is recognition. Some quiet, watchful part of you has been keeping a small, folded note about this woman for a long while, and it just opened in your hands. Let it open the rest of the way. There is nothing here that will hurt you. I want to be gentle about how I say this, because the truth of it is heavier than the way it will land in your life. Something was arranged around you that you did not agree to and were never told about. A conversation happened in a room you were not in. A version of you was described to people who then met you already believing it. You have been walking through a story that someone else wrote a chapter of, and the strangest part is how you kept feeling the seams without ever finding the thread. That thread is what I am pulling on now, softly, so the whole thing comes loose in the light. She is a woman. That much is clear to me. And she did not stumble into this by accident or say something careless in a moment of feeling. What she did was considered. She thought about it. She chose her words, chose her timing, chose who to speak to and who to keep in the dark. There was a plan in it, small and patient, and it was aimed in your direction. I know that is a lot to receive at the beginning of a reading, so let me also tell you the thing I feel just as strongly, right alongside it. It did not work the way she needed it to, not even close. Something else surfaces as I look closer, and it is almost strange in what it reveals about her. She watched you, not casually, the way we all glance at the people around us, but attentively, studying the details of how you move and speak and carry yourself. To build a story convincing enough to travel, she had to know you well, which means she noticed things about you that most people miss. And that is the quiet irony sitting underneath all of it. The person who tried hardest to convince others that you were less than you appear is the very person who studied you closely enough to know exactly how much you are. Her attention was a backhanded acknowledgement of your worth. You might be wondering why. Why you, why her, why any of it? And the answer, when I sit with it, is almost tender in how simple it turns out to be. She saw something in you that she has been unable to build in herself. A steadiness, a light that does not ask permission. The way you walk into a room and belong there without performing for it, that kind of presence is magnetic. And to a certain kind of person, it does not feel like inspiration. It feels like a mirror they cannot bear to look into. So instead of looking, she tried to smudge the glass. If you have found your way to Spiritual Light Tarot tonight, I promise you it was not random, and neither is the timing of what I am about to say. Envy is one of the oldest forces there is, older than any of us, and it has a particular flavor when it comes from someone who smiles at you. It is not the loud rivalry of an open enemy. It is quieter, and it wears the mask of friendship or kinship or concern. That is what made it so hard for you to name. Every instinct you had was correct, and every time you doubted that instinct, it was because the person setting it off was standing close enough to seem safe. Let me describe the shape of what she built, because I think naming it will loosen its last grip on you. She did not attack you outright. That was never the method. Instead, she planted small seeds in conversations, little downward remarks dressed as worry. She would say she was only telling people because she cared. She would frame her doubts about you as loyalty to them. And underneath every soft word was a hook, a subtle suggestion that you were less than you appear, that your kindness had an angle, that your good fortune was luck, or something you had not earned. Drop by drop, she tried to turn the water cloudy. There is a detail here that matters, and I want to name it because it explains everything that is now unraveling. She overreached. What began as a small, contained story could not stay small, because a lie has to keep growing to stay believable. Each time someone questioned it, she had to add to it, embellish it, stretch it a little further from the truth. And the further it stretched, the thinner it became, until it could no longer hold its own shape. Ambition undid her. If she had wanted only to wound you a little, she might have managed it quietly. But she wanted more than that, and reaching for more is precisely what left her exposed. And here is where the reading turns. Because I do not sit with heaviness for its own sake, and neither should you. The structure she built was never sound. It could not be. It was made entirely out of things that were not true, and anything built on that will hold its shape only as long as no one leans on it. Someone has begun to lean. The weight of her own story has started to press down on the very beams she nailed together, and I can feel them beginning to give. What is happening now is not revenge, and it is not something you have to lift a finger to cause. It is simply consequence, arriving the way water finds the lowest ground. The words she spoke in rooms you were not in are traveling back toward those same rooms, and this time they are being heard differently. People who once nodded along are beginning to feel the sourness of what they agreed to. A question is forming in them, quiet at first. Why was she so invested in making me think that about someone I barely knew? That question is the crack. And cracks, once they start, have a way of running. The mechanism of her undoing is her own inconsistency. And this is worth understanding because it means you never had to lift a hand. A person who tells the truth can tell it 1,000 times and it stays the same because it is simply describing what happened. A person who invents a story has to remember every version she told to every different listener, and no memory is that perfect. Somewhere along the way, the accounts stopped matching. One person heard one thing, another heard something that could not both be true, and when those two people finally spoke, the contradiction spoke for itself. She built a structure that required everyone to stay separate, and the moment they compared notes, it fell. You did nothing to earn this reversal except to keep being who you are. That is the part I want you to really hold. You did not scheme back. You did not sink to it. In the moments you most wanted to defend yourself, something in you chose to keep living cleanly instead, and that choice is now doing more work than any argument ever could. Your steadiness became the evidence. The longer you simply were yourself, the more her portrait of you looked like a painting of a stranger, and people notice when the picture does not match the person. There is a protection around you that I want to name because you have been living inside it without knowing it was there. Think back over the last stretch of your life. Think of the moments where something should have landed on you and somehow slid off. The opportunity that seemed to slip away and then quietly returned. The relationship you thought you had lost that was never really yours to lose. The door that closed and turned out to be a wall you were better off not walking through. That was not luck. That was a kind of insulation, wrapping around you exactly when she thought she had you exposed. I feel that this protection is older than you, and that is a comforting thing to know. It did not begin with this situation. It runs backward through the people you came from, through a lineage of those who endured worse than a quiet plot and passed something down to you that cannot be seen but can absolutely be felt. Call it a covering, an inheritance of resilience, a kind of light that gets handed from one generation to the next. Whatever you name it, it is real, and it has been standing between you and harm the entire time. You are not walking through this alone, and you never were. There are those who came before you who would not let this touch you. Feel, for a moment, how much energy you have spent explaining yourself to people who had already decided, to rooms that had been prepared before you entered. There's a particular exhaustion that comes from defending a version of you that you do not even recognize, and you have carried it quietly, wondering if you were the problem. You were never the problem. The tiredness you feel is not weakness. It is the residue of standing upright inside a wind that was engineered to knock you over, and staying upright anyway. I want to speak now to the doubt she planted in you, because that seed did more damage than any rumor she spread to others. The cruelest thing she managed was not what she made people think of you. It was what she made you begin to wonder about yourself. Those late nights replaying a conversation, searching for what you did wrong. That flinch before you speak, that second guess before you shine. She did not put those there by force. She put them there by suggestion, and suggestions can be withdrawn. Tonight, I am withdrawing hers, and I am asking you to feel the space where it used to sit. Because the truth about you is almost embarrassingly good, and she knew it, which is precisely why she worked so hard to keep you from feeling it. You are perceptive in a way that unsettles people who rely on not being seen. You forgive more than is fair, which she mistook for a lack of spine, when really it is a strength she has never had access to. And you carry a warmth that draws people towards you without any effort on your part. And to her, that warmth felt like a spotlight she was standing just outside of. Everything she tried to make ugly in you was simply the thing she wished she could hold. I feel a return of self-trust arriving for you, and it is one of the sweetest gifts hidden inside all of this. For a while now, you have doubted your own read on people. You would sense something off and then override it, telling yourself you were being unfair, unkind, too suspicious. That override is ending. Your first impressions are becoming reliable to you again, and you are going to notice it in small ways at first. A quiet accuracy that returns to your gut. The very faculty she needed you to distrust so that her version could take root is coming back online, sharper than before. You are learning, again, to believe yourself. Let me tell you what is arriving in the space she is vacating. Because energy does not leave a vacuum, it leaves an opening. As her story about you dissolves, the real you becomes visible to people who had only ever been shown the counterfeit. There are those who kept a polite distance from you for reasons they could not quite explain, and that distance is beginning to close. Something in them is being corrected. The recalibration is quiet and it is happening without your involvement, which is exactly how you know it is real. This is the same steady current that runs beneath everything shared here at Spiritual Light Tarot, and it is worth pausing on because it changes how you might carry the rest of this. Vindication does not always announce itself. It is rarely the dramatic scene where everyone gathers and the truth is declared and she is marched out in shame. Real vindication is softer and far more complete than that. It is the slow return of your good name to its rightful owner, delivered not by confrontation, but by time, by consistency, by the simple, stubborn fact of who you have continued to be. You might be feeling the urge even now to know exactly who she is, to pin the sensation to a specific person and be certain. I understand that pull, and I want to gently loosen it. Because the certainty you are reaching for is not the medicine here. Whether or not you ever attach a face to this, the pattern is what matters. And the pattern is already dissolving. Some of you will know instantly. Some of you will realize it slowly, over the coming stretch, in a small moment when a piece finally clicks. And some of you will never need the name at all, because the freedom arrives regardless of whether the mystery is ever solved. There is something tender happening with the people who helped carry her story, and I do not want you to miss it because it is part of your restoration too. They are beginning to feel foolish. Not because you shamed them, but because the truth has a weight that settles on its own. The ones who repeated what she told them are quietly realizing they were used, that their trust was borrowed and spent on something beneath them. Some of them will find their way back towards you, a little sheepish, and one or two might even say the words out loud, an acknowledgement you did not ask for and no longer need, but will be glad to receive. Let them return. There is no benefit in holding the door shut behind them. Consider how differently the air moves around you lately. There is a lightness where there used to be a low, constant pressure. Perhaps you assumed you were simply in a better mood, or sleeping better, or finally past some vague slump. What you are actually feeling is the withdrawal of a force that was pushing against you the whole time. When something stops pressing on you, the relief can be so total that you forget the pressure was ever there. Do not forget too quickly. Let yourself register the contrast, because it is proof of everything I am telling you. Her trouble, the trouble named in the title of this reading, is not something you have to watch or wait for or feel any way about. It is unfolding on its own terms, in its own timing, entirely outside your responsibility. What was hidden is becoming known, and it is becoming known to the very people whose opinion she was trying to bend. That is the whole mechanism. She built her position on the belief that no one would compare notes, and notes are being compared. The safety she thought she had is precisely what is giving way beneath her. And I want to be careful here, because this is not a reading about her downfall, no matter how the title reads. Her situation is simply the weather clearing. The real subject of this message has always been you, standing in a field that is finally getting sunlight. What matters is not that she is losing something. What matters is that you are getting something back, and what you are getting back is the truth of yourself, restored to full color after a long stretch of living under someone else's gray. Whatever she tried to take from you is being returned, and I feel it coming back with something added, not something diminished. There was a specific thing at the center of her effort, perhaps an opportunity she wanted to keep from you, or a bond she wanted to sour, or a standing she wanted to occupy in your place. Whatever it was, notice that the universe does not simply refund what was almost stolen. It tends to return it enlarged. The position she wanted comes back to you sturdier. The connection she tried to poison returns clearer than before it was tested. You are not merely being made whole. You are being made more than whole. Let me speak to the specific gift that is returning to you, because it is more precise than a general good feeling. It is your voice. Somewhere in this, you learned to speak a little more quietly than you used to. You began to soften your opinions before you offered them, to test the temperature of a room before revealing what you actually thought, to shrink the size of your presence so it would not be used against you. That contraction is ending. You are about to feel the return of a fuller voice, and when it comes back, it will not come back apologizing. There is a person, or perhaps a small handful of people, who are going to say something to you that lands like a key turning in a lock, a confirmation you did not go looking for. It might come casually, almost as an aside, and it will confirm what you have suspected without ever quite being able to prove. When it comes, notice that you are not surprised. Notice that some part of you exhales and says, "Yes, I knew." That exhale is your intuition being handed back its authority, and I want you to let it keep that authority from now on, because it earned it the hard way. I want to offer you a reframe that might change how you hold this entire chapter, because I feel it is true and I feel you are ready for it. This was an initiation, not a punishment, not bad fortune, but a threshold you had to cross to step into a larger version of your own life. There is a kind of strength that can only be forged by being tested in exactly this way, by being doubted and staying true, by being unseen and refusing to become bitter. She did not know she was serving your growth. But that is what happened. She was the pressure that turned coal into something that holds light, and you are walking out the other side, harder to break and easier to trust. I feel that some of you have been carrying guilt, which is the strangest twist of all. Guilt for having felt suspicious of someone who wore the face of a friend. Guilt for the coldness you could not explain, the reluctance to trust that made you feel unkind. Release that. Your reluctance was not coldness. It was your inner knowing, reading the situation accurately, while your conscious mind kept giving her the benefit of the doubt. You were not being unfair to her. You were being loyal to yourself, and that loyalty is exactly what kept you from being fully caught. Now I want to widen the lens, because this is about more than one woman and one plan. What is really happening is that a season of being underestimated is closing behind you. There have been others before her who looked at you and decided you were smaller than you are. She might be the sharpest example, but she is not the only one, and the shift arriving for you clears them all at once. The whole atmosphere of being doubted, of being managed, of being quietly kept in a lower seat than you deserved is lifting. You are being repositioned, and the move is upward. A sorting is taking place around you, quietly and without any drama. And I want you to trust it as it happens. This whole ordeal has functioned like a filter. It revealed who leans towards you when your name is questioned and who leans away. That information is priceless, and you now hold it. The ones who stayed, who withheld judgment, who kept treating you the same when it would have been easier to distance themselves, have shown you exactly who they are. And the ones who drifted have shown you that too. You are not losing people in this. You are learning with total clarity which people were ever really yours. Feel the difference between hoping to be believed and no longer needing to be. That is the frequency you are stepping into. There is a freedom on the other side of caring what a certain kind of person thinks, and you are crossing into it, not because you have grown hard, but because you have grown clear. When you know who you are with that much certainty, other people's distortions simply cannot find a surface to stick to. You become, in a sense, unfalsifiable. The lie needs your uncertainty to survive, and your uncertainty is leaving. Here's something I feel strongly and want to give you plainly. The people who matter, the ones whose regard is real, never fully believed the story anyway. You have imagined that everyone was taken in, that you were surrounded by people looking at you through her lens, but the truest ones held a quiet reservation the entire time. They could not name it either, but something in them declined to sign on. And now that reservation is turning into open recognition, and you are going to discover you had more allies than you ever realized, standing silently in your corner. There is a quiet power available to you now that I want to make sure you do not walk past. And it is the power of not explaining. When the truth fully surfaces, you are going to feel a pull to lay it all out, to defend yourself at last, to make everyone see exactly what happened and how wrong they were. You do not have to. In fact, the greater strength, the one that will lift you higher than any speech, is to let the truth carry itself while you say very little. Grace is louder than justification. When you refuse to descend into the whole sordid retelling, you signal that you were always operating from a higher place, and everyone watching feels it. There is a warmth I feel gathering around your name, in the places where it is spoken when you are not there. This is the reversal at its most beautiful. The rooms that were once seated against you are becoming rooms that speak well of you, and they are doing it on their own, without any campaign from you to correct the record. Your reputation is repairing itself through the simple mechanism of people watching you live. The living was the argument. You made your case just by continuing to be trustworthy while the story that said otherwise slowly starved. Let yourself imagine, just for a moment, walking into a space that used to feel subtly hostile and feeling it welcome you instead. That is not a fantasy. That is a preview. The subtle chill you learn to expect in certain company is thawing, and you are going to feel the temperature change before you understand why it changed. When you do not question it. Do not brace for the catch. Let the welcome be real, because it is. You have spent long enough entering rooms defensively. You are allowed to enter them at ease now. I feel your energy becoming sealed. And this is one of the most practical gifts to come out of all of this. For a long time, you were easy to read, easy to reach, easy to influence, because you led with an open heart and gave people the benefit of every doubt. That openness was beautiful, but it left a door ajar that she walked right through. Going forward, that door has a lock on it, and you hold the only key. You will still be warm. You will still be generous. But there is now a discernment guarding the entrance, deciding who gets in and who stays at the threshold. You are becoming harder to manipulate and impossible to fool the same way twice. I want to name your resilience directly because it deserves to be said out loud and you almost never say it about yourself. To be the target of something quiet and sustained, to feel it working on you without being able to prove it exists, and to keep your character intact through all of it is a rare kind of strength. Many people, faced with the same slow erosion, would have hardened or lashed out or become the very thing they were accused of being. You did not. You stayed soft where it counted and firm where it mattered. And that combination is why you are the one walking into the light while her structure comes down. There is a particular kind of peace that is available to you now, and it is different from the peace of things going your way. It is the peace of no longer being managed by someone else's opinion of you. Imagine setting down a bag you have been carrying so long that its weight became invisible, felt only as a general heaviness threaded quietly through everything you do. That is what is being set down. And in the lightness that follows, you are going to rediscover parts of yourself that went quiet under the strain, small pleasures and easy laughs, and a willingness to be seen that you had slowly filed away. I feel a creative or expressive part of you that has been waiting in the wings, held back by the sense of being watched by someone who wished you would fail. When you believe an unfriendly eye is on you, you make yourself smaller, safer, less bright. That eye is closing. And as it closes, the thing you have wanted to make or say or become is going to feel suddenly possible again. The permission you were waiting for was never hers to give or withhold. It was always yours, and you are about to take it back. Let me speak to the part of you that worries. This will simply repeat, that another her will appear once this one recedes. I understand the fear, but I do not feel it in your future. What is different now is you. You have been through the whole arc of it once, and you have come out with your intuition sharpened and validated. You will feel the next one coming from much further away, and you will not doubt the feeling, because doubting it is exactly what cost you before. This experience, painful as it was, hands you a discernment that will guard you for a long time. She taught you, without meaning to, how to read the difference between real warmth and the warmth that is performed. There will come a moment further along when you look back on all of this from a great height, and I want to tell you now what you will feel then, because it might surprise you. You will not feel triumph. You will feel something closer to compassion. From where you are standing now, so close to the wound, that is hard to imagine. But once you are fully free, once your name is restored and your life is expanded past anything she tried to keep you inside of, you will look back at her and understand that she was operating from a smallness she could not escape. You will not envy her that prison. And the absence of any need for revenge will be the surest sign that you have completely, finally won. Consider that everything she did because she could not simply take what you have. That is worth sitting with because it reframes the whole thing. Your gifts are not the kind that can be stolen or copied or absorbed. They are woven into who you are. That is why the only move available to her was to try to convince others they were not real, since she could not make them her own. And that, in the end, is a confession disguised as an attack. Every effort she made to diminish you was a private acknowledgement that you have something she could not reach. Something else is being formed in you through all of this, something you will not fully appreciate until later, and it is a kind of gift you will end up giving away. Because you have lived this from the inside, you now carry an understanding that cannot be taught in any other way. You know what it feels like to be quietly targeted while wearing a calm face for the world. You know the particular loneliness of a harm no one else can see. And that knowing is going to make you the safe person for someone else in time. The one who believes them when they say something feels wrong. The one who does not make them prove it. The very thing that was meant to isolate you is turning into a bridge you will extend to another. Your wound is quietly becoming a source of shelter. I want to return you to your own center now, because the reading has spent enough time on her, and you have spent enough of your life there too. Bring your attention back to the simple, warm fact of your own existence. You are here. You are still standing. You are, if anything, more yourself than you were before all of this began, tempered and clarified by having come through it. The story that tried to define you is losing its shape, and what remains, once it fully dissolves, is just you, unedited, exactly as you were always meant to be seen. There is something arriving for you that has nothing to do with her at all, and I think it is important to end near this because it is where your attention truly belongs. A door is opening in a direction you have been quietly longing toward. It has been held shut, in part, by the fog she generated, the confusion that kept you second-guessing your own steps. As that fog clears, the path becomes visible again, and it leads somewhere good. You will feel a pull toward it, an instinct to move that you have not felt in a while, and I want you to trust that pull when it comes. The guidance offered in this space has always pointed toward one thing above all, and it points there for you now. The unshakable worth that lives inside you regardless of what any single person decides to believe. That worth was never up for a vote. It did not rise or fall based on her opinion or theirs or the story that got told in rooms you never saw. It has been constant this entire time, steady beneath everything, waiting for you to stop, looking to others to confirm it, and simply to know it for yourself. You are arriving at that knowing now. Feel how your shoulders want to drop as you take this in. Feel the small, involuntary softening in your chest, the sense of a long-held tension finally being allowed to leave. That physical response is your body confirming what your mind is only beginning to accept. You are safe. You were always going to be safe. The thing that was arranged against you was real, but it was also always going to fail because it was built against the grain of something far stronger than any plan. The simple, quiet, unbreakable truth of who you actually are. So let the rest of this land gently. There is nothing you need to do about the woman in the title, no move to make, no confrontation to plan, no evidence to gather. Her situation will resolve itself entirely without you. And the most powerful thing you can do is to lift your attention off of it completely and place it back on your own life, which is opening up in front of you in ways you are just beginning to sense. Turn toward what is yours. Turn toward what is good. The clearing has already begun, and it was always going to end with you standing exactly where you belong, in full light, seen truly at last. As this message from Spiritual Light Tarot settles into you, and the reading draws to its close, carry only the part that serves you, that your instincts were right, that your character held, that the truth has a way of returning to its owner, and that you are more protected, more valued, and more free than the last stretch of your life ever let you feel. Let the old weight go. Step forward lightly. The story that tried to shrink you is ending, and yours, the real one, is only now truly beginning. Walk into it gently, and know that you were never as alone in this as it once appeared. You were held the whole way through, and you still are.